Welcome back, guys. I did do my research, but I feel like a lot of videos were not transparent, or people were trying to kind of sell you the you're gonna get an apartment here for $300, $200, leave your country, leave your mama, leave your pet, whoever you have to leave them, because here in Vietnam you're gonna get a cheap life. So coming here, I did have a brutal awakening, and some of it was true. So some of the videos that I watched had true advices. Shout out to you guys. And other videos did not really portray the reality of everything going on in the market right now when it comes to apartment hunting and house hunting. Having this conversation with myself is cute, but I'm not gonna I did not want to gatekeep. So I was like, okay, let me make a video for anybody that's trying to move here, anybody thinking about moving here, or if you're just curious, or if you already moved abroad and you're trying to find a new place to impose your seed. This is the video for you. So let's jump right straight to it, guys. The first thing that I wish that I knew before house hunting here in Da Nang is negotiating here is tough. I remember when I did my little apartment hunting in Thailand prior to moving here, it was so easy. Whatever I would tell the agent, she was like, yes, yes. I would be like, okay, can we negotiate it to this price? Obviously, I wasn't lowballing, but I was able to negotiate $200 to $300 off of the house, of the home. And yeah, so I thought it was going to be the same thing here. Obviously, I did not have a set price that I wanted them to negotiate with me, but I just thought that there would be rooms to maneuver. I think if you're thinking about moving here in Vietnam, Da Nang, I would say obviously I'm not gonna say don't try to negotiate. Again, it all depends on the owner that you get. If you get a good owner, maybe he's gonna be okay with it. But if you get an owner that's tough and that doesn't want to budge, I told you so, because this is what happened to me. And yeah, so basically one of the things that I see here is negotiating the price is very tough, but it's pretty easy to negotiate other things. So I would say instead of focusing on negotiating the rent if you get turned down, focus on negotiating things like internet, adding cleaners, or management fees, which I'm going to talk about later in a later point. And yeah, so negotiate on these things being included. The second thing that I wish that somebody would have told me, some realtors will play games with you, and some of them are dishonest. So I'm going to explain a little bit my situation. So I had this one realtor, and I messaged them and I was like, okay, well, I want to visit this apartment. And then he was like, okay, no problem. So he took me to the apartment, and when I got there, the apartment was nothing it was not like the picture. It was nothing like the picture that I saw, the apartment that I liked. And I was like, okay, well, where is the apartment that I showed you that I wanted to see? And he was like, oh, well, I'm sorry, the apartment was taken. And the third time, guys, the third time, I literally made sure. I was like, are you sure this is the apartment that we're gonna go see? And again, it was the same building. And that realtor was like, yeah, this is the exact apartment that you're gonna go see on the picture. Don't worry, it's available. Please tell me why, when he opened the door to the apartment, it was the same apartment that I was shown the day before, that I precisely took the time to confirm that it wasn't that one. And at that point, I was like, bro, you told me that I was not gonna visit another apartment. Why am I here? And he just looked at me, and it was and I was like, the next thing that I wish that I knew prior to house apartment hunting here in Da Nang would be the whole situation of contracts and deposits. So first of all, do not accept a lease that is not in a language you understand. I know this may sound as basic, cuckoo, but a lot of times you're so excited to find an apartment, or you're just tired of the whole process. You just want to get it over with. So even if it's in Vietnamese, you're like, you know what, I don't have time for this, and you just end up signing it, and you don't even know what you signed, and then you end up being tied up to something that you did not want to be tied up to. So make sure to sign your contracts and prior to signing it, make sure that it's in your language. So one other things that I want to talk about is it's also included like in the contract situation is the fact that deposits. So the deposits do vary. When I came here, I came with the thought that the deposit would only be like a month, and then I would just have to pay like 2 months up front. But in my situation, I had to pay 3 months up front and the deposit. So it ended up being me having to pay 4 months worth of rent. So there was a time that I was sitting at home, just like you guys, watching this video, and I was watching like other influencers, content creators making content about moving abroad. And I was so astonished of like the prices that they were putting out there. They were like, oh, you can move for $300, for $500, you're gonna find an apartment. And you would see all of these amenities and all of these great things. And you would be like, bro, like, this is crazy. Like, let me be the honest gal that I am and tell you guys that here in Da Nang, like those $300 to $500 apartments that, again, people be showing are not, like, it's not gonna happen here in Da Nang. And I'm talking about like luxurious, okay? So for $300 to $500, you can find a place that is nice and decent, okay? So if you are looking for luxury and you're looking for like those amenities, saunas, pools, what else? Like meeting rooms, all the good stuff that you see on social media that has you wanting to sell your car, your home, your pet, whatever. You're gonna have to put your money where your mouth is. Like those apartments, when I made my visit, you can go watch my other videos. All of the apartments that I visited that had those amenities were way above $500. This is one thing that kind of again goes hand on hand with what I just spoke about, the cheap vice luxury debacle. Decide to go with an apartment that is on the cheaper side, I would definitely recommend that you make sure that the maintenance is good. So when I say that you make sure that the maintenance is good, is that even like back in Canada, everybody knows that older buildings do mean that sometimes they request more maintenance or they have issues such as mold. So Vietnam is a very humid country, and a lot of times what I saw people kind of complaining about, mostly the people that decided to rent out houses, they ended up having an issue with mold. I think like this is one of the things that I really wish that I knew, because I was so surprised. Again, I did do a little bit of research coming here, but I can say that I was a little bit negligent. I didn't do as much research due to the last minute change of location that I was gonna go live. There is gonna be buildings, or yeah, more so buildings that are gonna have extra fees. So other than your rent. So I'm not talking about electricity and water. Everybody knows that most properties do not include water and electricity here. And once I found that apartment that I really like, I was ready to just sign off and everything. And then she was like, oh yeah, the rent is like $1,000, but it's not going to include the sauna, the pool, the gym. You're going to have to pay extra, and it does not include the management fee. And I was like, wouldn't the management fee include the amenities? I don't know. Am I the only one that thinks that makes sense? So I wish somebody would have told me to bring sneakers, okay? To bring water bottle, because apartment hunting is a real sport, guys. Literally, like Vietnam, Da Nang is hot. When I say hot, I'm not talking about like 20 degrees hot. I'm not talking about like 25 degrees hot. It's hot. It's humid. And again, if you're not used to the heat, it's brutal. And you definitely need to have water. You definitely need to buy like one of those electric fans. You definitely have to have good shoes, because it's a sport. It's literally a sport, like going up and down stairs, whatever building that you're gonna go to. As you guys know, I ended up finding my apartment. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. One of the things that our realtor told us when we got to the unit, we were happy when we saw the unit because as I told you guys, I was about to give up. But when I saw the unit, I was like, bro, like, give me the papers. But she was like, wait a second. I'm gonna have to be transparent with you. This unit is not gonna be good if you're sound sensitive. And I was like, sound sensitive? What do you mean? And then she took us to the balcony and she pointed us to like two clubs that are beside our building. And she was like, those two clubs, they play like really loud music. And the fact that you're near the ocean or river whatsoever, the sound echoes and it's almost as if the music is inside of your apartment. I underestimated what she was trying to say. So on the first night at around like 5 p.m., I literally heard music. And I was like, oh, like, why is the music so loud? And I thought like my husband was like playing music on the TV. So I went outside to be like, bro, like, this is not the club. Turn on the music. And then that's when I looked at him and he looked at me and we realized that the music was coming from the clubs downstairs. So if you're somebody that sounds sensitive, be mindful. So this is something that's kind of hard to talk about because it can really be annoying, all depending. I think it's something that should be expected. Sometimes it is reasonable, but sometimes it's not reasonable. So yeah, let's talk about it, guys. I spoke to some people where they saw an apartment was like 10 million. And then when they got there, the realtor was like, oh, well, this apartment is like 15 million. Right? And then they would be like, oh, well, I thought that you said this apartment was 10 million. And then they would be like, oh, sorry, like the owner changed their mind and whatsoever. So again, like this is something that can happen. It all depends on who you're dealing with and how they decide to do their business. And as I said at the beginning of this video, you are a foreigner. You are somebody that's come live in somebody else's country. So as much as you may feel like you're being discriminated, it is still a choice that you can make if you are gonna stay or leave. So this is the last thing that I wish that I knew. And I think it's one of the things that I was more so like excited to share. Don't rush. Take your time. This is not a marathon. You've already done the thing that is the hardest, which is leaving your country, leaving your family behind. Now you need to come and make the right decisions because a lot of us left our country to be able to make better decisions, to find ourselves and to bet on ourselves. Put a budget where you can allow yourself to like be able to stay in an Airbnb for like 5 to 10 days or even a month. You know what I'm saying? Like all depending on what you want to do. My experience, when I finally sat down in my apartment and I signed the lease, I felt like a next level satisfaction. You know what I'm saying? And I just really wish that I would have been patient with myself prior to that, because if I would have been patient with myself prior to that, I feel like that moment would have been more sacred, if what I'm saying makes sense. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the video. If you have like any questions or anything that wasn't like concrete in what I was saying, do not hesitate to comment. I'm going to try to speak to some people to see what their experiences are so that I can also add it to my ebook. So keep an eye out for that. And again, thank you so much, guys, for watching today.